In this lesson, you will learn how to write an argument essay. An argument essay is an advanced form of college writing that demonstrates your knowledge, your thinking skills, your intellectual maturity, your creativity, and your ability to express complex ideas in English. For the purposes of this course, an argument essay has a recommended structure that you must learn by the end of the semester. However, the skill of argumentation is transferable to other domains. Once you learn the recommended structure, you should be able to use the logic of the structure, in any language, and in any field of study, to persuade open-minded readers and listeners to change their views, or take specific actions. In short, the argument essay is a powerful tool for changing the world. Let's talk about its structure. The argument essay has 5 paragraphs. An introduction, 2 paragraphs to support your point of view, a paragraph that refutes a common counterargument, and a conclusion. Each of these paragraphs has structural elements that you will need to include. Let's go step by step through each paragraph so that you get a clear idea how to write a great essay. Paragraph 1 is your introduction. It has an opening, an explanation of the context of the problem you intend to discuss at length, and a thesis statement. The opening. Begin your essay with a provocative, thought-provoking question. You could begin, for example, with, "Did you know that?" The context. Establish the importance of the topic. Use phrases like these. A vital factor in, the leading cause of, widely considered to be, set to become, undergoing a revolution, is responsible for. If you are discussing an ambiguous concept, it is a good idea to define and limit your terms. For example, if you intend to discuss education, are you referring to the act of going to school every day, the degrees and qualifications mentioned in a CV, or the ability to change your mind when faced with new evidence and reasons? The thesis statement. Include a debatable thesis. A single sentence that summarizes your argument about a controversy. In this course we will write argument essays about taxing sugar, internet censorship, animal rights, abortion, body image, feminism, immigration, and climate change. These are some of the most difficult questions we face today. Thinking well and writing clearly to persuade others to change their views on these difficult topics could make the world a better place. At the end of your introductory paragraph, in the last position, include a clear statement of your position on one of these controversies. This is called your thesis statement. Give your thesis sentence a 3-part structure. Summarize your point of view. At the end of the same sentence, add a concise first reason and a second reason. In this way, your thesis will help to structure the rest of your essay, by anticipating the topics of the next 2 paragraphs. Here is an example. We need an added sugar tax in this country. Because taxing sugar will reduce sales of fast food, and because the money that we collect can help to fund the healthcare system. Let's break it down. We need an added sugar tax in this country. That's the summary of the main point of the essay. Because taxing sugar will reduce sales of fast food. That's going to be the topic of the next paragraph. Because the money that we collect can help to fund the healthcare system. That's going to be the topic of the 3rd paragraph. When you switch topics, you must start a new paragraph. Since we are switching from the introduction to the argument, to the development of a supporting argument, we must start a new paragraph. Here we switch to paragraph 2, the first supporting argument. Unlike in the introduction with the main idea summarized at the end of the paragraph, body paragraphs begin with a summary of the main idea in the first position. We call this first sentence the topic sentence. Let's break it down. Begin the second paragraph with a topic sentence that summarizes the main idea of the paragraph, and includes the first of the 2 reasons mentioned in your thesis sentence. This repetition of ideas helps the reader see the connection between your second paragraph and your introduction. We call this type of connection structural cohesion. Now you must elaborate on the topic sentence. Argue. Refer to facts, statistics, logic, what is reasonable, what follows from the evidence, and conclusions one can draw. Give evidence from your reading and research using these types of words. According to, from, tells us that, shows us that, referring to, argues that, stated, wrote, argued, discussed, expressed the concern that, and, as written. Use quotation marks. Next, cite sources. Properly cite quoted text using the person's family name in parentheses, for example, open parenthesis, Einstein, close parenthesis. I give examples to support your claims using words and phrases such as these. For example, for instance, suppose that, take the case of, That is, to be exact, to explain, to illustrate, to put another way, to show what I mean. The third paragraph follows the same structure as the second, starting with a topic sentence that summarizes the main idea of the paragraph, and includes the second of the two reasons mentioned in your thesis sentence. Again, this repetition of ideas helps the reader see the connection between your third paragraph and your introduction. It is another example of structural cohesion. Remember that you must elaborate on the topic sentence. Argue. Give evidence from your reading and research, cite sources, and give examples to support your claims. It is not enough to explain what you believe and why. You must show your reader that you know that your view is not the only opinion on the subject. More than that, you must summarize, concede, and refute the strongest counter-argument to your position. Since you are changing topics again, remember that you must change paragraphs. This brings us to paragraph 4. Paragraph 4 should tackle the counter-argument. Like the other two paragraphs that precede it, start with a topic sentence. Summarize an opposing view with words like these. Some people claim, some believe, others believe, some people object to, some try to refute, opponents discount, opponents reject, opponents argue, it is often argued that, and the opposing side will claim. To show that you are a reasonable person, you must concede, at least a little. What does it mean to concede? You concede when you admit that something is partly true or valid after first denying or resisting it in the topic sentence. You can do this by showing which parts of the counter-argument have merit, with words like these. We must concede that, granted, indeed, it is true that. While it is true that, admittedly, one cannot deny that. Now that you have conceded that something is partly true or valid, you can't stop there. You must now refute the counter-argument using words like these. Nonetheless, nevertheless, regardless, whereas, although, and yet, in contrast, by contrast, despite, there is countervailing evidence, that said, and however. There. You have summarized your argument, provided two supporting arguments, and refuted the counter-argument. Now it is time to wrap things up and try to change the world for the better. You will do that in your final paragraph, paragraph 5, your conclusion. Conclusions are easy to write. Start with a reformulation of the thesis. By reformulation, I mean restate the thesis in different words from the introduction with a paraphrase. You must build cohesion by using transition words. Start your reformulated thesis with expressions such as these. To sum up, to conclude, in closing, or for these reasons. Now you must make a call to action with a recommendation. So, make a clear recommendation. Use a verb or expression such as, suggest, encourage, recommend, propose, what needs to be done. Then make a prediction. What will happen if the reader follows your recommendation? Use one expression such as, should, ought to, will, or going to, predict, we can expect, I foresee, or it is likely that. You have reached the end of your essay, but there is still one last thing to add. Include a works cited section. It should have two parts. A heading. Identify this section of your essay with the heading, Works Cited. A list. Include at least 3 sources properly formatted, each on its own line. Formatting is easy. Give the author's name, last name first. Comma. The title of the document. Another comma. Write the word published and the date, using the American format of month/day/year. Another comma. The web address where you found it. Another comma, and the word accessed and the date you found it online. That's it. That's an argument essay. Master it and you will have the skills you need to go far in academia. Now for your assignment. Write an argument essay on one of the topics mentioned. Use the virtualwritingtutor.com to score your essay. The virtual writing tutor can score your essay in just 2 seconds. Use the automatic feedback to make revisions. When you are satisfied that you have written the best argument essay you can, submit it to your teacher by the deadline.